Welcome back to 4th grade Math Corner. This video is for Module 7, Lesson 1. This is the first lesson in a new unit. The new unit is on measurements. So it's exploring measurement with multiplication. So our learning target is today I will create conversion tables for length, weight, and capacity to solve word problems. So conversion tables look like this. They are going to help us convert or change from one unit of measurement to another unit of measurement. Here we're going from large units to smaller units. We are going to be talking about weight first, which is going from pounds to ounces. Pounds are heavier. They're like the size of a soccer ball, where ounces make up pounds. They're smaller units of measurement. They're about the size of the weight of a small paper clip. So in this lesson, you will need to be able to change pounds to ounces. If you've watched the Brain Pop video that was recommended on the calendar, you have heard that 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So filling out this conversion table is going to help you with the word problems that you're going to be solving, and you will have your own conversion tables to fill out. Every time I have a pound, it's 16 more ounces. So 1 pound is 16 ounces. If I add another pound, that would be 2 pounds, and it would be 2 groups of 16, and I would just figure out what 2 pounds equals by adding them together, and I would have 32, and I would keep adding another pound every time I went down. 1 more pound would be 16 ounces, and that would be 48, and you would keep going. I know that adding another 16 pounds would make it 64, and then I would add 16 more, which would make it 80, and 16 more, which would make 96, and 16 more, which would make 112, and I solved this by just adding 16, 16, 16, 16 every time I went down, but I don't want this video to be too long, so I did it beforehand. And 10 pounds, 10 times 16 would be 160, or 10 groups of 16 would be 160. So the rule for converting pounds to ounces is that for every pound, I'm going to add 16 more ounces, but a faster way to add, if we're doing equal groups, would be multiplication. So if you check your conversion table, if I do groups of 16 ounces, my groups would be how many pounds I'm trying to figure out. So let's just check one. If I want to do 5 pounds of 16 ounces, I would do 5 times 16. I like to write this, either partial product by going 16 times 5 and going down, or I could do on an area model, and I would go 10 plus 6, which is 16 times 5. And here on the partial product, I would go 6 times 5, and that is 30, or on the area model, I would go 6 times 5 is 30. And then I would do the next place, which would be 10 times 5, and that is 50. In the area model, I just have my length times my width, so 5 times 10, which is 50, and I still add them together, no matter which strategy I'm using, and 50 plus 30 is 80, and it matches here. So I know that multiplication, because they're equal groups, can also help me. Instead of adding, it takes a long time to add 16 10 times or 9 times. So the rule for converting pounds could be multiplying by 16 pounds to ounces. So we're going to do another conversion table that will help you with your problem set. This is yards to feet. So yards are like those long sticks that we have in the classroom. They're called yardsticks. And one of those is made by putting feet together. Feet is like a ruler, a little 12-inch ruler. And we can make yards by using 3 feet. So there's 3 feet in every yard. If I said 1 yard is 3 feet plus another yard of 3 feet, that would be 2 yards and it would equal 6 feet. I could do another yard of 3 feet, which would be 3 yards, and that would be 9 feet. And I would keep going, but I could also, because I'm using 3 feet for every yard, it's equal groups. So really, I could times by 3 and get all of my feet from in each yard, because each yard is going to be 3 feet. So if I have 4 yards of 3 feet, that would be 12. And then 5 yards of 3 feet would be 15. 6 yards of 3 feet would be 18. And I could keep going and counting. I did this before so we could make the video go a little faster. And so the rule for converting yards to feet is timesing by 3 because there are 3 feet in every yard. The next units of measure that you are going to use for your problem set are feet to inches. So remember I said a foot is like one of the regular rulers that you might use to measure something in class, and each ruler is 12 inches. So there's 12 inches in each ruler. We could go 12 inches from one foot plus 12 inches in another foot, and that would be 24 inches. Or I could say every ruler or every foot has 12 inches. So if I'm going to go 3 feet of 12 inches, it would be 36. And then if I went 4 feet of 12 inches, I would go 4 times 12, which would be 48. And I could keep going, multiplying my feet by 12 because there's 12 inches in each foot. I'm going to go ahead and finish this conversion table so it could help me model your problem set to you. All right, so now I'm going to go down. You're going to have some, in your problem set, you will have some conversion tables that you'll go ahead and fill out yourself. And that you can use the conversion tables that I just did above, or you can multiply by 16 ounces, or by 3 feet to get your yard, or by 12 inches to get your, how much are in a inches, or how many inches are in a foot. The next types of problems that you are going to have are word problems, as well as just some basic conversions that look like this down here below. So I'm not going to do all of these, but I will show you what I would do in order to solve them. I told you 2 strategies. You could just use the conversion charts above, or you could do multiplication. So 2 yards, I could scroll back up to my yards, and I have to read the whole problem. 2 yards and 2 inches equals blank inches. So I'm trying to turn all these yards plus inches into just inches. So I would go up. I would see 2 yards. Oh my gosh, I have to go yards to inches. So 2 yards is 6 feet. So, but I'm not turning them into feet. I'm turning them into inches. So I would have to go 2 yards equals 6 feet. And then I have to turn these feet into the inches. So if I know that I have 6 feet, I go back up to my conversion table. 6 feet here has 72 inches. So I'd say 72 inches plus the 2 inches that are there. 72 plus 2 equals 74. So it's 74 inches. Another way I could do this, and if I didn't want to use the conversion tables and I only want to use multiplication, is I could say I have to turn my yards into feet. There are 3 feet in every yard, and that gets me 6 feet. And then I have to go these 6 feet times the 12 inches that are in each foot. And I would say I could do the multiplication. Whoops, not 16, it's 12. 12 times 6, and I would say 2 times 6 is 12, and 6 times 10 is 60. Add them together, it is 72. And remember, that is just the 2 yards, and then I have to add the 2 inches, so I'd say plus 2 equals 74, and it matches the answer I got using just the conversion tables. So they're a little trickier. Some of them are multi-step. Sometimes you're not just going from one measurement to a smaller measurement. You're going to have to jump down, like from yards to feet, then to inches. The next one we're going to look at is 4 yards 2 feet equals blank feet. So this is a little easier because we're going from yards to the next smallest measurement, which is feet. So we can use our conversion tables and just find out how many feet are in 4 yards. Go back up. Here's 4 yards. There are 12 feet in 4 yards. So I could come down here and I could say this is 12 feet plus the 2 feet that were with it equals 14 feet. But sometimes you won't always have conversion tables, so just knowing how to do the multiplication is also really useful. So saying 4 yards, and there are 3 feet in each yard, so 4 times 3 is going to give me 12 feet. And then I would add the 2 feet, and I would get 14 feet. So you could use either strategy, whichever one works best for you. You're also going to get problems that have word problems, and this one is an example. It says Allie has a piece of string that is 6 yards 2 feet long. How many inches of string does she have? So again, I'm going from yards to inches. So I'm going to go from a long yardstick to teeny tiny inches, which means I have to go from the yardstick to the feet, and that'll make it easier to get inches. So it's going to be a multi-step word problem. So I know that Allie has 6 yards, or I can highlight it, 6 yards and 2 feet, and we want to know how many inches that is. So I'm going to say 6 yards, and I know that each yard has 3 feet. Whoops, sorry, 3 feet. So I'm going to go 6 times 3 equals 18, and we have turned our yards into feet. Or I could have scrolled back up to my conversion table and just looked. So she also had 2 more feet. So here it had 6 yards and then 2 more feet. So I would go 18 plus 2 equals 20 feet. No. Yeah, sorry, feet. Now I'm not done because feet is not my answer. Inches has to be my answer. So now I'm going to say she has 20 feet of 12 inches each. So I have to go 20 times 12. I could use partial product and do the bow tie method to keep track, or I could do my area model and I could say 12 is 10 plus 2 times 20, and I don't need to break it up because it's only a tens place. Or I could come over to my partial product and I could go 2 times 0, 2 times 20, and then come over to my tens place and go a 10 times 0, and a 10 times 2 tens, which is 20. And then either way I solve, I'm going to get the same answer. So in my partial product, I know 2 times 0 is 0. And then 2 times 20 looks a little more tricky, but I know that there's 1 0. So I'm going to put my 0 as my placeholder. And then I'm just going to go 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Then I have here, I have my 0, because 10 times 0 is 0. It's nothing. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to see that 10 has a 0 and 20 has a 0. So that means I need 2 zeros. And 1 times 2 is 2. Then I add it up going down. 0, 4, 2. It would be 240 inches. Or I could come over here in my area model and I would go 20 times 10. I see that there are 2 zeros because I'm going to go 10 times 10 and get hundreds. And hundreds has nothing in the ones or tens. 2 times 1 is 2. And then here on the next spot, I'm going to go 20 times 2. And I know that there's a 0 because the 20 is I'm going to do 2 tens. And they have no ones. And then 2 times 2 is 4, and I'm going to add them together, and I get 240. And remember, these are inches. So I know that Allie has 240 inches, which this would be my answer, or this could be my answer. If you have any questions, please let your teacher know.